Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn with How She Got There and Next In podcast. And today I'm so excited to bring you our very first guest of 2023, Ruth Davis. And everybody, I saw Ruth at the Girls in Tech Conference in Nashville last fall and was blown away by what she had to say and knew she had to come in here and talk to all of you. So we're ready to jump into the conversation. So excited to have her here. Hi, Ruth. How are you?
I'm great, Jamie. Great to see you.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on, taking time out of your busy day. Now, you are a client lead partner at IBM. So I want to dive into that in just a second because beyond impressed, because you've been with the company forever, and that's almost unheard of in today's tech world. But I always love to ask the ladies who come on, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Well, actually, Jamie, I thought I would be an educator.
Okay.
I was raised by a mother who was an elementary school teacher and later became the head of a Head Start program. And
Mhm.
my father was a college professor. So I like to say education was in my DNA. I spent so much time in classrooms and on campuses growing up, so I could really see myself as a teacher.
Mhm. Well, I will tell you, when you walked out on stage that day to talk to us, you reminded me of my 11th grade US history teacher, who I absolutely adore and still adore to this day. And when you walked out, I was like, oh, that's her. And you had that same spirit and the same teaching style as her. And so I can see that you probably would have thought you were going to go into education. I could see that being a great flow
Absolutely.
for you. Yeah. So where did you grow up?
In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
So what was your educational journey? You thought you were going to go into education. Is that something that you majored in college?
No, I actually majored in engineering, electrical
Okay.
engineering. I went to an all-girls high school and was doing well in math and science. And I was tapped to go into a program called Minority Introduction to Engineering.
Okay.
And I got to spend a lot of time with college students that were majoring in engineering, and other executives came to speak and network with us. But I
Mhm.
was also exposed to that because my father was an electrical engineer himself, but it really took the program and seeing peers, they talk about representation matters, that
Mhm.
really I came back from that program and said, I'm going to be an electrical engineer. So he was pretty excited.
Yeah. So where did you go to college?
I went to Temple University in Philadelphia.
Impressive. I have known many of friends who go there, and their educational journey seems to be fantastic at Temple. So how did you get your job at IBM? Like, what was your career trajectory?
Well, getting the job initially was through a co-op. And that was interesting because while I loved engineering and I started college very early, I actually started at 15 and
Oh,
then went
wow.
in 3 years, and I graduated at 18. But so part of the way through, you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, right? So
Right.
it wasn't engineering. I said, I think I'm going to switch over to business because I just liked the idea of solving problems and the businesses that I'd been
Mhm.
exposed through to some of my management courses, et cetera. So I went to my dean and I said, I think I'm going to switch over to business instead of engineering. And he said, absolutely not. Um, you're doing great. And for one thing, I was actually the only Black female in my engineering curriculum for the
Really?
entire 3 years that I was there. This was a while back. You can see a few of the gray hairs. So there really wasn't, there was no one else. And he said, you're going to stick with this. And what we'll do is we'll change some electives around and focus on business. So I ended up just a couple of credits shy of business degree and engineering.
Wow.
But at the same time, he said, I'm going to see if I can get you into this co-op at IBM because
Mhm.
that's a big business. And so it'll kind of match that with your engineering skills. So I ended up co-oping at IBM in one of their data centers. And then before I finished the 6-month co-op, I had an offer to become a systems engineer trainee. So that's where I started.
Mhm. So
At
what was your career path within IBM?
Oh, well, that's a great question, Jamie. It's very long and varied. It's certainly not a straight line. So I
Right.
started out as systems engineering. And
Mhm.
then I had 17 unique roles in the time that I've been at IBM, which is
Wow.
something that I love about the company. You can do
Yeah.
so many things. So I moved from engineering to sales, marketing, operations, industry solutions, ecosystems, consulting, training, talent development, you name it. So I've had a a broad and varied career. And then I'm back now in consulting, and this is my third stint in consulting.
Oh, wow. So how do you balance all of that and family life as well? I mean, you're doing that, jumping into the career world, and then I'm sure marriage and children came along right in the middle of all of that as well.
Exactly. And I like to say that it's up to you how you chart your career and the balance and the work life integration that works for you. So I had opportunities where, I'd been asked to relocate for a particular promotion, and I just gotten married, and my husband had his own business, and that just didn't make sense for me at that
Mhm.
time. I made decisions when I had young children that I didn't want to take roles that would require a lot of travel. So I took roles that gave me ultimate flexibility so that I could take them to school and they could finish
Mhm.
their homework on the floor in my office. So I think it's up to the individual to see what
Mhm.
works best for them, and then work within the confines of your organization. And IBM's certainly been great about that. And I know a lot of companies are being much more flexible now, so that we can get the talent from the
Mhm.
families that are part of their organization, giving them the
Yeah.
flexibility they need to be as productive as possible.
So are you still using that electrical engineering degree in
Well,
what you do now?
here's what I love about engineering, and I talk to students over the years about majoring in it. I don't tinker with electrical parts anymore, but what it does is teaches you a level of logic and
Mhm.
problem solving that can be applied to anything. That's why I love the STEM space. Any business problem can be broken down into variables and solved. So I've used that skill to really every day in every
Mhm.
role that I've had.
So I love that. So what does a client partner entail? Like, what is your daily? I know everyone will say, I can't tell you every day to day what I do, but like the general entail of what you're
Sure, sure.
interested
And it is different every day, which is
in.
something that I love, the dynamic nature of tech in general and a lot of the roles. So our clients are looking to be competitive in their industries and leverage technology to serve their customers.
Mhm.
So as an IBM consultant, we bring skill sets and capabilities to help them meet their business and technology needs.
Mhm.
And today, most clients are looking to leverage technology and accelerate or begin digital transformation journeys. And
Yeah.
we add our expertise and combination and collaborate with them to help them modernize and automate their technology and meet their business goals.
So Ruth, if we're talking, you say you talk to a lot of students. So let's say you're talking to some girls in high school who really don't know what career path that they want to take, or maybe it's someone who is at that crossroads and they're thinking about changing their career and getting into tech. What advice would you give them?
Well, tech is a great space to be in. And one
Mhm.
of the first things that I think is important to know is that you don't have to code to be in tech. I
Yeah.
happened to learn to code very early alongside my father when he was getting his master's in math and computer science. And that is a skill that I think, again, reinforces logic. But you can these days, bypass a 4-year
Mhm.
degree. At IBM years ago, we scrubbed a lot of our job descriptions and took out a 4-year college degree so
Mhm.
that we lowered the barrier of entry to get into the tech world. You can focus more on the key skills that will make you successful in tech versus a particular degree.
Mhm.
So I advise them, if they're interested, to take advantage of so many of the certifications that are available. A cybersecurity certification would get you a great entry level job at IBM or other tech companies, boot camps, etc.
Mhm.
For women looking to re-enter the workforce, we have programs in tech that allow them to do that. Again, skills oriented training. Most of it is free and online. So, look at what those opportunities are, and
Mhm.
join us in tech. It can be marketing and finance and HR and, other things, as well as some of the technical roles, because
Mhm.
there are many more of the technical roles. I will say that in tech companies, but
Right.
there are lots of ways to be a part of this dynamic sector.
So could you share some of the greatest lessons you learned over your career?
Oh, okay. Well, again, as an engineer, very focused on, logic, hard skills, that type
Mhm.
of thing. But I have found that the most successful people and what's a really key skills to have are soft skills.
Yes.
You can develop a subject matter expertise if you study hard enough and focus in one area. But if you cannot articulate the value proposition of your product or your
Mhm.
solution or your marketing campaign,
Yes.
or if you can't effectively collaborate with a team to improve a design, it really does limit the value that your hard skills have to an organization. So
Mhm.
that is a lesson that I learned very early on, that the communication skills, other soft skills are really important.
Mhm. That
And
is something I preach all the time as well.
yes, absolutely. And the other lesson that I learned early, and someone gave me this advice, was to ask questions for clarity. And I think women in particular don't want to ask questions, look like we don't know something.
Mhm.
But as you move through your career, or just as you're learning, you need to be able to ask questions for clarity. And there may be opportunities where you're leading a team and
Mhm.
everyone beneath you has years of experience in a particular area and it's a new area for you. You
Mhm.
have to ask the questions so that you can make the appropriate decisions for the team and for the business that you're running.
Mhm.
So that is, to me, a key lesson learned, that sometimes we're hesitant, but asking questions for clarity is a strength, not a weakness.
Mhm.
And I think the other thing that is very important, it's something that I do, is each role has, you have something to learn in every role and something to contribute. But I look at each role that I have as my own little business. I'm an entrepreneur of whatever this is. And
Uh-huh.
that makes it really exciting. From the outside, it may look like a mundane staff type of role, but because of my perspective and how I approach it and looking at what the outcome should be for that particular role, I set a strategy and then I go about trying to be creative about executing against it. It really makes any role much better. And that's a lesson that I've learned over time.
Yeah, all those points are great advice. Absolutely. How do we get more girls involved in STEM careers?
Well, I love to speak at schools, and there's so many programs that are available. I'm actually a vice chair of a nonprofit called Inspire EDU here in Atlanta, where our goal is to change lives through technology and education. And we
Mhm.
focus on the families. We give them the physical laptops, but also digital literacy. So I think early digital literacy programming is really important for families and schools to give
Mhm.
the young girls that, that exposure that they
Yeah.
need. I was fortunate I had that exposure at home, but everyone doesn't have that.
Right.
So I urge, participation in camps and programs. There's Code with Classy, there's Black Girls Code. There's so many programs like that in schools. So just go for it is the advice that I have. Try it. It may not be for you, but it may. You might be surprised.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're growing up and you don't want to try a new kind of food. And the rule in my parents' house was if you didn't, you had to try it once. And if you didn't like it, it was okay, but you had to try it. And so I always give that
Exactly.
career advice as well. I work in an office with a lot of women in their 20s, and my advice to them is just try.
That's right.
You never know. You may fall in love with it, you may hate it, but at least you know now what you don't want to do.
Exactly. That's just
Mhm.
as important.
Yeah. Uh, so tell me, as we wrap up this interview, what inspires you?
Well, young people inspire me, Jamie. Whether they're students that have, so much potential, I'd love to see them tap into that and want each and every one of them to fulfill their potential. And young people, early career professionals that have so much talent and creativity and energy. I thrive on that and love to help navigate their careers and give any guidance that I can. That's where
Mhm.
I really get energy and inspiration. They truly are our future. And there's so much potential that's out there. And I think it behooves all of us to help that next generation take advantage of
Mhm.
what's here. In tech, particularly, it is a space that everyone can thrive in. And you have to have, as I mentioned, this base of digital literacy to do really almost anything in any industry or sector
Yeah.
at this point. But young people really do inspire me.
Yeah. So I always find it important to have a mentor, but also to be a mentor. And I feel like
Absolutely.
that's what you're saying there as well.
Of course, I have a broad set of mentees, and
Mhm.
when we talk about, what my day is like, I usually try to incorporate a mentor-mentee session in my day. It's always refreshing, and it's very, very important.
Yeah. Ruth, thank you so much for taking time out and talking to us today and hopefully inspiring that next generation to take that leap into technology.
Yes,
And
join us.
so thank you so much. And if you guys like what you've heard today, make sure to subscribe and like and follow us here on our channel, How She Got There.
Just